SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
All right, now we come to the last subpart of section 2, research and analysis, and this is about insight statements, how might we questions, and design strategy statement. This is an error. So insight statements, how might we questions, and design strategy statements. Now remember, we have been diverging, right? We went out, we got a lot of information, and as we did our research. Even before that, if you think back to the problem framing, you know, when we were working on the problem framing, we started with one problem, right? We started with one problem and then said, what are the different ways to think about it? We diverged, we brought all our thoughts together, and then we converged and came up with a better statement, a better problem statement. Then we said, let's go and interview users, let's go and find information. We diverged again. We went out and found out a lot of information and came back. And then we tried to make sense of all of it, and we converged into our persona scenarios, and now we're converging into finally a design strategy statement that is defining for us what is it that we're designing. What is that object or service or system or experience or product service system that we're designing, okay? We define that, and then we're going to diverge again when we start to ideate. Okay, I'll show you a diagram of this again, but this is the process. And also remember, what we have been doing is we start at a single point, then we work sometimes individually. That is also part of the diverging converging, which is what makes this method and this approach so powerful. There are many views, many ways, and then we bring it all together into one. So that collaborative comes into a single point. Then again, we go and, we've researched and all that and come back, and a lot of different ideas and thoughts as far as bringing it back from the field to the users, and then we converge all that into one. And again, during ideation, we will work individually, and then we converge all our thoughts together. So that is the power of the system. So insight statements. Let's try and understand what are insight statements. So we started, as I said in the earlier section, with user stories and themes. We understood the stories of our users' lives, right? It's like a script of a play. This is the story of their lives, and from that we formed all these themes, okay? Then we created personas and scenarios. We said of the entire population of people who are going to use this particular product or service, these are the 3 or 4 broad types of people, right? There's a generous Rahul, there's a stingy Sapna, there's a, whatever it is, not so aware, so and so, the different types that we talked about, and their context and their scenario, okay? Now based on these, we're going to draw insights. Now we're going to say that this is my realization. Insight is like a realization, okay? That is then going to become our launch pad. And then how might we questions? From the insights we would derive how might we questions, where we ask ourselves the question. Ask ourselves a question in order to asking ourselves a question so that we can answer it through a design solution. And then the design strategy statement. Okay, so these are the things we're going to cover in this section. What are insights? Insights, as I said, are your discoveries from your research. They are your realization. And what is the purpose of them? They will serve as triggers. They will serve as the launching pad from which design ideation will happen. Okay, so your discoveries pull together and to become these triggers. Okay, let's look at some examples of the insights that were drawn. So there was this service we were working on, which was a service for adventure travel. You know, people who don't want to do your standard tourist kind of traveling. They are interested in some kind of new adventure, something fun, something more exciting, right? And this also happened at the time when that movie was released, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. So an adventure trip based service, right? So what were some of the insights that came out? I'm not sharing with you the details of the research or anything, but at the end of it, the team came back with, okay, this is what our people need. The insights are that people are looking for something beyond typical tourism, that standard tourism is not as exciting for people anymore, right? They have a lot of fear. They also have a lot of ignorance about adventure activities. They want the adventure, there's the excitement, the thrill of adventure, and they would love to try it, and also having seen other people and other, like the movies and all showing it, but there's a lot of fear. They're very scared about it, and then there's also a lot of ignorance. They don't know details or exactly what it involves, exactly what it means, etc. Okay? They are indecisive because part of this issue of the fear and ignorance, and of course people are going for a vacation is a big thing. So having the family agree to something is always a challenge, and zoning in and agreeing on a place where we can all go for a vacation and all feel excited about it and all agree upon is always a challenge, but it becomes doubly so in the case of this adventure trip, right? When it becomes an adventure, will all of us be able to participate, or do the parents have to sit back and only the kids can do it, and all of those factors come into the picture. Will we all enjoy it, or should we choose something that is less adventure, things like that. Okay, discomfort about the reliability of information. Why? Because of the risks, right? We know that there would be risks associated with adventure. There would be, a lot of unknowns and things like that. So that discomfort about the reliability of information. How authentic is this information? Who is giving me this information? Who is giving me this assurance? And what kind of assurance are they giving me? That, okay, don't worry, you can enjoy your adventure, you can also enjoy your vacation, and you can also come back safe. Okay? And people are looking for a single point of information for all adventure. They were not interested in going to different places for different kinds of adventure. So single point of adventure. Now if you read these insights, I'm sure it puts in your mind a picture about what are the key components of our design. What are the key things that our design needs to do in order to satisfy our user? Now we looked at that tourist story example, right, where it was a service to perhaps supplement or instead of the information that is currently available when people go to historic sites. That is historic travel, right? So let's look at the insights they came back with. Information at tourist locations needs to be presented in a more interesting and engaging manner, because history, many people would view it as, it's all boring stuff, right? So it needs to be made more interesting and engaging. We need to incorporate the stories revolving around a place to make the information more interesting. All this, history is in the past. So what can we do to make a story out of what happened in the past, as if it's happening right now, right? So the stories around the place, when you're standing in a place, the stories should be presented as if it's happening in front of me today, to make it more interesting. Static information is not always read. People find it very boring, right? Guides can give good information, but they are often not trusted, or they're considered to be very expensive. So there are guides, there are government, what is it called, licensed guides, but people don't trust them sometimes. We need to aid the guides while they're providing information to tourists. So this is a very, very important point that came to bear very strongly in the final design, that perhaps we need to look at it not as something to replace the guide, because the guides have a wealth of information in their heads, but something to help the guides, because the guides also get very tired. They're doing a lot of groups in a day, and they're walking around the place all the time, etc. We need to cater to the enthusiastic tourist for whom there's currently no provision. People who really want to know more, that just that board that gives a little bit of brief information about the place is not enough. I want to know more in depth. Who were the people of that period? What happened in this palace? What happened in this castle, or whatever it is that you've gone to see, the historic location, right? We need to give freedom to the tourist about choosing the level of detail and information. Okay, see, this is a very important point, because we know that people have different levels of interest, different levels of requirement. Okay, audio and visual inputs are essential, and some level of interactivity. These two might make it much more interesting. It would be a way to make this come alive. So you can see at the end of all these insights, we have a very clear picture what this service needs to be. Okay? Let's look at this other example, right? Insights for the design of a public toilet for women, right? So what were the issues around this? Number one was, women want a space in which to enter and exit the toilet. They were not comfortable if there's a door right on the road, or right wherever the toilet is, and straight they're entering the door. They would like a little bit of a private space, and also while coming out, it was found through the research that to adjust their saris or whatever it is, they want that little bit of private space before they exit or enter the toilet. Toilets get dirty very quickly, and this was a big issue with the women, because they felt very uncomfortable with the lack of hygiene in the toilets. And the third insight was that it's not about the women only, right? It's about the people who live and work near a public toilet. Okay, remember the stakeholder map and the list of stakeholders we created. Who are the different people who are involved in this problem, who impact this problem, and who are impacted by this problem, right? So people who live and work near a public toilet, they have a crucial role to play. What is the role? They have a role to play in directing people towards or away from the toilet. Okay, they can play a very crucial role. All right, so these were the important insights that came out through this study. Now, from insights, we launch into how might we questions. Now, how might we is a very, very important phrase, right? And let us look at each of these words. How might we? In creating these how might we questions, we are, as I said, putting a question to ourselves, posing a question to ourselves that how can we solve this? How can you solve this? How can you come up with excellent solutions based on these insights? Okay, how is a very important word in saying that there may be different ways, right? How would we do it? We can do it this way or that way or that way or that way or that way. So this is encouraging us to look in different directions, not just one, right? How might we? It's not how will we, how can we, but it's how might we? How might? We might do it, which implies again more possibilities, right? More different openings. It opens up to more opportunities. And we is about doing it as a collaboration. It's not I, it's not, me, it's we. How might we? Okay, so this is the phrase, an important phrase that is also, there's business magazines, I believe Harvard Business Review has covered this, where they talk about this how might we as a way to launch into innovation. So turning your insights into how might we questions. Again, this is a template that we would share with you, and it comes from IDEO. So we have our different insights, first, second and third insight, and we would take that insight and rephrase it into a question. Okay? So reframe your key insight statements as how might we questions to turn those challenges into opportunities for design. How might we turns our challenges into opportunities for design. This is very, very important to keep in mind. Now let's look at that public toilet for women example again, right? Remember, we had one insight that said women want a private space in which to enter and exit the toilet. So what is the how might we question? How might we create a private zone for women before they fully exit the toilet? How might we do this? We might do it in this way, we might do it in that way, we might do it in this and the other and so many other ways. Without proper maintenance, toilets will become dirty very quickly. How might we design toilets to be easily serviced and maintained? Right? Perhaps at a later point we might even say, how might we design toilets that would be self-maintaining? Perhaps. So how might we design toilets to be easily serviced and maintained? The third insight was the people who live and work near a public toilet play a crucial role in directing users towards or away from the toilet. How might we create an experience that will drive the surrounding community to encourage more use? The surrounding community, we've realized, is very, very important in this, right? So how might we bring them into this fold where they become an important stakeholder to this context and situation that we're looking at, and they would become a partner in this process. They would also participate and help driving people towards the public toilet, encourage more use. Okay? So how might we questions? All right. Now we come to the design strategy statement. This is where we try and converge into one point where we try to, in one sentence, be able to describe what is our project. I have unfortunately lost who was the originator of this, but it is so powerful. It is very, very powerful, and every project that I've worked on, it really helps to bring back, to converge into the point about what is it that we're designing. So our project is a dash. What is it? That does dash. What does it do? For whom? Right? That's it. It's that simple. Our project is a dash that does dash for dash. So this is the design strategy statement. Okay? And believe me, it is extremely difficult to come up with the design strategy statement. Every team that we worked in, it's a struggle, but it is a very revealing and a very enlightening process, enlightening end outcome when we're able to finally crack this and say, okay, this is our design strategy statement. So invariably you go through several revisions and you're just not happy with it. Here's an example I'll show you where we moved from one to another. Okay, I'll first give you the context. This was a project in which we were looking at, again, it started like the first 5 years of life project I described to you yesterday, right? Where it started with a big goal about children's education, right? So this one likewise started with a big goal about educating children about the environment and sanitation and things like that. So educating children. A bit further along, after going through this process, it was realized that a very big key person in the child's life is their parent, is their mother in particular. The mother who can instill a lot of these things, and the mother who can help this child become a bigger person than they may be. However, a lot of the mothers are not literate. So then the design strategy statement the project turned around into how do we equip these women with very low literacy? How do we equip them to have working literacy so they can go around and do some basic things like, traveling in a bus, banking, and things like that, working literacy. So it was called working literacy in order to be able to do basic everyday tasks, right? So let's look at this first design strategy statement that the team came up with, right? So this, they said, we are creating designing an educational aid for this illiterate and semi-literate women of India /near the bottom of the pyramid that helps them to learn the English and Hindi alphabets and be able to recognize and read basic simple words in English that they come across in their day-to-day lives. We aim to help them overcome the difficulties they face in their lives presently due to the inability to read necessary information written in English around them, and thus empower them to be able to lead their lives independently. Right? So again, this was a project where the focus shifted from the child to the parent. So the team struggled to come up with this. It was not an easy exercise. And after that, of course, we realized this is way, way, way too long. This cannot be a design strategy statement. Okay? So went back and went through revisions and iterating, and all the time breaking our heads to say, what is it that we're designing? What is it that we're trying to design? And then this was the final statement that the team came up with. We are designing an application for illiterate, semi-literate Indian women that enables them to be able to read basic English words from everyday life. You can see that it's crisp, it's very clear, there's no ambiguity here what we're designing, and it is also very sharp and focused. Okay? So this is a brilliant tool that I would suggest you try to use. And while it looks deceptively simple when we say we are creating a dash that does dash for dash, right? It's not that simple to actually do it. Let's look at another statement. Our project, this was a shopping platform that the team was creating. Our project is an online platform dedicated to clothing, which enables people to buy new clothes, gift clothes to their near and dear ones, and donate their old clothes to those in need, specifically in the Indian context. So this happened after many revisions. It happened after revision of the design strategy statement, and this is what came out. And as you can see, once you read it, it's quite crystal clear. There's no ambiguity about what these people are designing. Here's another one. We are designing a new technique of spraying pesticide, which is low cost and easy to understand by uneducated farmers in order to improve affordability in their work. Okay? Again, crisp, clear, unambiguous. That is what your design strategy statement needs to be. And, like they say, to make things simple is not so simple. and this is an example of that as well. Remember tourist story. Let's look at their design strategy statement. Tourist story is a system which delivers a wholesome, educational and enlightening experience at a historical site via engaging content and media for every type of tourist, right? So you can see how every word has been carefully chosen. It's a system which delivers a wholesome, educational and enlightening experience. It's an experience we're delivering at a historical site, how via engaging content and media for whom? For every type of tourist. Okay, so that's the design strategy statement for tourist story. Now, I'm going to show you a product, and it just for fun, try and think about what the design strategy statement could have been. I don't know the answer, okay, but it's important for you to just try. And so this is, on Lufthansa airline, this is the package of food they come and put at your seat, okay. This is the food, and when you open it, these are the three components you pull out of it, right? This and these two sat in this box over here, right? You take this out and then you look at this and say, interesting, what is this? And then when you open the packet, this is what you see, right? So just a little teaser for you, what may have been the design strategy statement for this. I don't know the answer, but it was fun to try and think about it. This is an interesting product, okay, that we will speak about some more later. So you can pause the video over here and then try and come up with a design strategy statement. One possible could be to design a compact utensil to be packaged and provided with airline food. Is that what could have generated this kind of a product? Okay, so that is bringing us to the end of this part 2, and as I said, like in the end of part 1, in the end of part 2 also, I'm throwing at you a thought-provoking problem, and this is just for you to try and work out. This is not part of assignments, not part of grading, not part of anything. It's for you to just provoke your thoughts and say, how do I apply all that I'm learning to try and come up with a solution for this? Let's look at it. To provoke your thoughts, what do we have? You go to a doctor and you come out with a prescription that typically has a list of medicines and some instructions. Okay? What kind of problems do people encounter? They walk out of the doctor's office with that prescription which says, things are scribbled, names of medicine, the details about how frequently they should take it, and then details perhaps about before food, after food, details about morning or night, all kinds of details, and then maybe some other instructions as well along with it that says, don't take it on an empty stomach, or additional instructions. So when when you go to a doctor, you come out with these kind of things. So could this be easier, right? When you come out, people face all kinds of different problems, right? What problems are those, and could this be easier? Try and conceptualize on paper how its design could be. And as I told you in the last section as well, have fun doing it. Enjoy the whole activity, because this is your way to slowly get oriented into the world of design thinking and bringing people into the fold. Enjoy.